Riley, mate, how are ya?
Good. What's going on?
2 podcasts today. It's podcast day.
Oh, really? Who was the first?
I just had a guy on here now. I'm knocking the mic. Sammy Peterson. He's a comedian, writer, producer. He's got a company, I think it's a company called The Production Guy. I think it's called that.
All right.
But I had some guests on, Maddie Tyres and Jimmy Eaton. They're both comedians and they won that Lego Masters competition.
Yeah, I feel like I know the name Maddie Tyres.
Yeah. You might have even seen it through the posts and what have you.
Yeah.
But they connected me to him, and he's got amongst a whole plethora of shit that he's into. He has another podcast called, and I got this wrong, but I think it's called The Confessions of an Idiot. And he scrolls the internet like there's these pages where people just confess shit. And he digs through all these confessions and then puts together 4 confessions and gets he was a stand-up comic for 6 years and gets all of those guys together, and 2 guys and 2 friends, 2 comics, whatever, and get 4 confessions and do a podcast reading these confessions out. And basically, just doing what comedians do best over these confessions. And one of them I was listening to was this woman who said that she'd had like a lifelong love affair or a crush on John Bon Jovi, and that basically her favorite Bon Jovi film was The Labyrinth. And they're going, do you mean Bowie? John Bon Bowie? And then, of course, they just riff from there. And her what she's written is fucking insane, like calling her partners, Bon Jovi, and wishing they were there, but never even met him. And
it's all based on a lie.
Yeah, she's got the wrong guy.
Yeah, fuck.
Or she's got the right music but the wrong face and the wrong films.
And they couldn't be further apart either.
No, yeah. One's, an innovator and one isn't.
And that's going to be hard for her to figure out, like once she finds out she meant David Bowie or she meant the other one. That's just going to be crippling. I remember one time I found out that, I always thought the difference between butter and margarine was massive in my family when I was 11 or 12 or 13 or something. And then I always thought we were a butter family, and I would spit on the margarine families. And then I figured out what the difference is, and it's nothing, but we were actually a margarine family the entire time. I felt like such a fucking turncoat. I had no idea what to do with it.
So what do you... Wait. Don't take me back a second. You thought that your family was a butter family.
Yeah, I thought the shit that we spread was butter.
But you were eating margarine.
The entire time.
Right.
I just didn't read the label.
Right, but you say that the difference is nothing.
Yeah.
But the difference is massive.
All in here. It's all mental. It's a cognitive.
Yeah, one's purely vegetable based and the other is animal fat.
Yes, technically. But in terms of purpose.
Right. Where you use them and how you use them is identical.
Yeah, and effectiveness and
taste and
yeah, it's all just creamy good.
One ruins your testosterone production and the other promotes it. Another interesting fact.
The one that ruins it is the butter?
No.
Is it? Oh, right, the opposite.
Opposite, yeah. So vegetable oil is a phytoestrogen. So it increases your estrogen production, decreases your testosterone production, which means a lack of muscle. If you're working out and all that kind of stuff can lead to hair loss, all those kinds of things. So we were just talking about this before. There's lots of foods, especially for men. I mean, everyone is subject to dietary forced hormonal imbalances. And for men, phytoestrogens are a big one. And margarine is full of them. Anything that's, even to the point now where I'm proactively trying to avoid anything with vegetable oil in it. Because it's in everything. And half the time it's palm oil, which has its own set of fucking devastation attached to it. But, like canola oil and sunflower oil and anything that's, even if it's like rice crackers or whatever that is, rice and good for you and they're organic, are still fucking cooked in canola oil. Yeah. Which is terrible for you. And one thing that has amazed me when we go down this, this will be the last thing I say about nutrition, is that olives are sitting there in canola oil. Why not just put them in olive oil, which is good for you? It's crazy. Cannot find olives in olive oil. They're all in canola oil.
Yeah, I've
And-
never analysed the olives to that level.
Neither
That
have I.
it does make sense. You know?
Until now. And all your dips, canola oil. All of them. It's crazy.
Well,
So normally, something to ponder.
so yeah, I'll take that.
When you're working out or whatever, and you're trying to do the best thing by your diet, canola oil is stifling.
Yeah, because you're vegan as well, eh?
I was. I gave it a year.
Yeah. And you didn't like it after a year, or?
No, well, it was. I started checking out this guy called. I want to say his name is Christopher Walker. I know. I've got the last part right. Anyways, he's a nutrition type, neuroscience dude, fitness guy in America who'd had a major. I don't know how it happened, but dysfunction in his brain, and it stopped the production of testosterone and all kinds of stuff. And so, anyways, he managed to cure it, and then went on this big journey of understanding nutrition and what have you, living longer, and high performance biohacking and what have you. So when Lauren started up, I had been, like when I was prepping for Lauren, I had been vegan for a year and I'd lost 10 kilos.
Yeah.
And it come off the back of the first time I'd prepped for Lauren and put on 10 kilos. So I had lost all of it in the hiatus between production like deals. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Companies or whoever going to pay for this thing. So the second time round, it's like, yes, this is a lock. I decided that I'm going to do it for myself, and I'm training, and I did it. I want to say I did half of it vegan, and then I wanted to see just as a test. So I did, got all my blood work done as a vegan, and I was never all the way, right? Like I probably once a week or every couple of weeks would have a ham and cheese croissant. That was my big go-to if I was going to break.
Yeah.
And then I did 3 months on a grass-fed organic meat diet, and the actual blood work didn't really definitively tell me one was better than the other, but I felt better, and my gains were better, and I was stronger, and my recovery was better. So I think for me, my body does need some source of animal fat as opposed to just being all plant-based. Well, let's start with how you and I met.
Yeah.
Stringy bark. The first, do you want to bring that mic just a little bit closer to you?
Sorry.
You right? The first read-through, wasn't it?
Yeah,
you
it
had
would
that
have been.
giant beard.
I did have a beard.
Because you had another project or something you were doing.
Yeah, for Ben as well. So like that's...
Oh, the miners thing.
Yeah. So pretty much, and I think that's part of why I was growing out the hair as well at the moment, was pretty much since I started uni and met Ben and acted in most of his things. I can't remember how many, but like he dictated my style choices forever because he'd be like, oh, do you want to grow a mustache? I'm like, fine. Do you want to grow a beard? And I was like, yeah, right. Yeah. And it was pretty much, it was always up to him. And then somewhere in the middle of the year, I was like, no. And it's all mine now. So
you do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah. But yeah, it was stringy bark. And I think, so that was, oh God, when was that? That would have been mid
18. So
mid 2018 somewhere.
August, I think. 2018. And then you, me and Shane went out for that little bender and got our Kelly Gang type pre-work set in place with the Guinness and what have you. It ended up being a pretty hectic night.
Yeah, I think Saxon was there for a spell, but he kind of missed all the he missed a lot of the Guinness.
Yeah, because he also had a show on, I think, at the time, wasn't he? Rehearsing for a musical or something.
Yeah, I think it was like that weekend or something.
Yeah,
he was busy.
Getting close to the line. Yeah.
That was a lot of Guinness. That was my first experience drinking whiskey and beer at the same time.
Yeah.
Instead of like, is that double fisting? What do you call that? Is that
chasing?
Double chasing. That's it. Yeah, better than double fisting. It was that or double parking. I was like, no. But yeah. So yeah, that was a wild experience for a lot of reasons.
How long were you sort of already attached to that with Ben?
That was...
Like, were you around from the infancy when it was an idea? Did you watch the whole thing come along?
Yeah, I think he did tell me about it a few months beforehand. Not that he was saying, oh, I've got a thing for you to be in or anything like that. but I kind of knew it was a safe bet in a way. I think just because we'd worked a bit on a couple of other things.
So you knew he was going to make it happen.
Yeah, I knew I was going to sort of slot in somehow.
Right,
And be a part of it in some way. Yeah. I remember him sending me a draft, and then I think it was about 18 or 19 pages long. And then he started to get a bit of a weird groundswell with the sort of media.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because it was in the Geelong News, and then from there it jumped into Melbourne News, and then it was
Yeah, and
global.
then it was, what was it? It was The Guardian, wasn't it? Or Sydney Morning Herald?
Yeah, something like that.
Through Doug.
And I think it was almost getting like a weird sort of copycat kind of storytelling through the Russell Crowe one was being made
Yeah.
in a similar time period, and that was in the news. And then I remember telling people, I was like, I'm going to be acting in a film about Ned Kelly. And then they'd hear about the Russell Crowe one, and they're like, get fucked.
I know.
You're in that. And I'm like, no. But it just felt like it was spreading kind of simultaneously, and worked out really well like that.
I wonder, I think that probably got it a little bit more airtime in little pieces in magazines or what have you than it would have before. I even got that follow-up with Melissa Fife recently. I hope she comes along, actually. I did invite her to come. She said she would come, but I'm not sure if that's still happening. But, I went up to, all of the Beechworths and Mansfields and all of that, and like a 4-day camping trip up there, went to Stringy Bark and what have you, and they were filming there at the same time, and they had just been filming where we were camping through the marsh. I forget the name of the marsh, but there's these glamping tents up there. It's quite epic.
Yeah.
And me and my buddy were running around through the swamp in the middle of the night, hammered. But we went to Beechworth, and the footy was on, and we were ripping it up with all the locals in there. Beechworth was definitely my pick of the bunch. It was so great. But they had all caught wind of it, and of course I was almost at full throttle. And what are you doing up here? Oh, I'm just playing Ned Kelly in a film. No way. Same thing. Russell Crowe, he's just here. Yeah, no, so it's not that film. It's just a little independent film that you might see, maybe.
Yeah, they did couple together really well. And I haven't seen the Russell Crowe one yet. But I've been meaning to.
It's a good conversation. It's a shame you haven't seen it. I saw it.
Yeah?
Look, it's a cinematic, like, I won't say masterpiece, but it's fucking beautiful. Like I don't know if Justin Kurzel is the DOP or whether how involved in the shots and compositions and what have you, but certainly there's a style. So I don't know enough about him. He probably is, because like Macbeth was very similar with Michael Fassbender. Although Assassin's Creed was a kind of a step out, so maybe there was a different DOP on that. But yeah, it's incredibly beautiful, and my kind of favorite compositions, sort of right off camera to the right with heaps of space and all that kind of stuff, as opposed to right bang in the middle and all that kind of stuff. Lots of wide angles, close ups, a bit sort of Alejandro type blend in there.
Yeah.
But in terms of the rest of it, like the individual performances were great. I just don't think that they should have used the Ned Kelly story. If you're going to do a parody, I think maybe it would have been better just to do a parody on Australian bushrangers. What if Australian bushrangers were like this?
So it's a parody of some kind.
Totally. I mean, they're running around in dresses, shit that, there's all kinds of timeline things that don't make sense. Like the prison that he was kept in is like a shipping container.
Oh, right.
It's like
so
this
there's like
iron container that's like...
It's like anachronisms in the...
Yeah, just stuff that looks cool. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that blend that they did with Romeo and Juliet, with like old text but modern cars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's not consistent. So they're dressed in old clothes, but then they'll have this one thing on that's new. And they're wearing like Bond singlets that you buy at fucking Coles that weren't invented, and some guns that are far outdate, like certain revolvers that are maybe, 40 years later.
Yeah,
and stuff like that. So you're like, and the boy that he rescued from the creek or whatever it was with the green sash, the house that she lives in, when he goes to the house to meet the mother or whatever, is this giant palace. and I happen to know it's a historical monument, the house that they lived in, and it's a limestone type colonial cottage. It's big. It's not like a shack, but it's not a fucking chateau.
Yeah.
That they're set in with the 4-meter high ceilings and all the rest of it. So I just think that it's too much of a parody for it to now try and grab nuggets of historical data from the Kelly gang.
Yeah. And I wonder what
Keeps throwing you. For me, it kept throwing me in and out of it,
Yeah, and I wonder what the sort of grand point of it was meant to be.
Yeah, like why? Why, just pick someone else. Did they think that putting the Kelly side of it in there was going to be a good marketing standpoint? Because it wasn't. They had to pull it from cinemas. It didn't quite make it there. And then to salvage it, Stan stepped in and bought it. That's my understanding of it. That doesn't mean that's what happened. Yeah. That's sort of the feel that I get. But I mean, George McKay is an incredible actor. And I thought Russell Crowe was one of the best things I've seen him do in ages. And he's a small part. But he was brilliant.
What's the part that he plays?
George Booth.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah. And he's great. But the woman who wrote the article about the film, who mentioned us, Melissa Fife, she said that Justin Kurzel had said years before that he was really looking forward to coming back to Australia and making a film with Australian actors. What the fuck happened to that, Justin?
Because
there's
also fucking
one Australian actor in there that's a name. The rest are British or Russell Crowe. Yeah. And he's essentially Australian, but not. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like Charlie Hunman and Nicholas Hoult, George McKay, they're all British.
Yeah.
There's plenty of us fighting around, buddy.
That is a pretty good cast as well.
That's a great cast.
It's weird, yeah.
Actually, Nicholas Hoult was incredible. He was really, really good. And I'm not a huge fan of his. I think he's very talented, but his brand doesn't normally speak to me. But he was great in it. Really good. A lot like he was. Did you see The Favourite?
No, I didn't.
With Emma Stone and what have you?
Yeah, I really meant to because I really like The Lobster. That was a stellar film.
The Lobster's great. Lobster's great. This is less abstract than Lobster, but that same rhythm in the dialogue, which I love.
Lobster had it was so fast paced with the way that everyone was talking.
And that same sort of dispassionate about the way that they're saying things, this real lack of empathy.
Yeah, like it kind of reminded me of like a David Lynch thing where it's kind of like, it's not Earth, but it's this weird alternate version of Earth where everyone's just a little more calculated in the way that they're all sort of playing the part. Yeah. And dispassionate's a better way to put it. Yeah. That's yeah.
That's right. We segued Nicholas Hoult. So I thought he was really, really good. Charlie Hunman, I've never been a fan, and I've never really understood why he's done as well as he's done. I guess he got successful with, what was it? What's the
Sons
show?
of Anarchy.
Sons of Anarchy, which I couldn't cop as a show. But so when I see him getting all these big roles, I'm like, God damn it! Next they're going to make him Bond, and that's just going to break my heart.
Yeah.
Are you a fan?
Of Charlie Hunnam, I am actually.
Really?
Because I thought, I really liked. I can't remember him specifically. I know he was the main guy, but I can't remember his performance specifically in Pacific Rim. But I remember really liking that as a whole. I thought that was quite a fun movie. And then I just saw The Gentleman as well, the new Guy Ritchie one. Great, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Just a shitload of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's meant to be like that return to sort of the gangster style for Guy Ritchie, but I don't know. It was just a lot of fun. He's really funny in it.
Maybe he's turned a corner. I will say this. I don't know whether it was a fuck up on his part in terms of a lack of dialect coaching, because he was a late addition to the film. Someone pulled out or dropped out. I forget who it was, but it was a big name, and he came in at the last minute. So maybe it was a lack of prep, or it was an artistic choice, but there was this inflection that he was doing at this sort of mumbled, mixed up dialect that made him sound really funny in the right moments. And I thought, and I had to find myself going, that's pretty funny actually. Like, I really like the way he delivered that line, but you can't tell whether he's supposed to be Irish or British or what, or Australian. I don't know what the fuck it is.
There's lots of very illusionary grand points being made.
Yeah,
in
right.
True history.
Yeah,
Apparently.
exactly.
I'll have to watch it. Yeah,
Definitely, it's
Just so I can-
definitely worth a watch, and interesting that people get so razzled about it. I'm seeing countless amounts of Facebook threads where they're
Yeah.
like, "This is a pile of shit, and this is the 2 hours I've lost in my life that I'm never going to get back."
And I know that was kind of like the hard line in the sand for Ben, was because I remember when they were talking about, they being the media, talking about true history being made, it was like the anachronisms were being made very clear, and the idea that it was going to be like half modern, or like there was going to be something weird about the timeline, like you were talking about. But when Ben was making his movie, he was very adamant about all of the details being correct,
Yeah.
everything, even down to like, I think when he was reading through diary entries and things, like some of those things that were quoted from people being said hundreds of years ago were put into the dialogue in
Yes.
Stringy Bark.
Yeah. Yeah.
Put into the dialogue.
Yes, well, actually, you saved me one day when I was discussing one of those dialogue points with him. I don't know if you remember. This is when we went up and fired the weapons that day.
Oh yeah.
And because I knew that he had said like, these are quotes. These just come directly from it, and I'm like, yeah. But when you say it out loud, you're doubling up and repeating yourself, and it's and in a film, it's not going to fly. And then you jumped in with whatever it was that you said, and we all went, yeah, cool. All right, let's restructure that. But I knew like what he was trying to do, and that's why I said to him, like, I remember saying to him, I feel like this has come from somewhere factual, like, because I get a sense of how you've been doing this, but I think in terms of getting it to flow out of the mouth on the day will be different. And they were very good like that, in terms of hearing what each actor had to say about whatever that it is that they wanted to do. And
Yeah, I thought Ben's great to work with
Ben's incredible.
because I've never, trained as an actor or anything. And I've never really sought out to act in things. They've kind of just sort of
I remember
fallen
you
across.
saying, yeah.
And it's interesting because I think I sort of brand myself as being a shit actor. And because of that, it's interesting to know who are the directors I like working with when I do work with them. Because it's interesting to get those notes from myself being a shit actor. It's kind of like, well, I think I know what I can improve to make their life easier. And I think I know the kind of notes that I need to improve for myself.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Sort of. Yeah.
Sort of, yeah.
How do you
I'll take it.
How do you go when you're, or have you had enough of a part with someone else's words, given like writing's your number one go-to, and that's like you're really strong in that department. Can you like get into it easier because you're a writer and you understand the structure, or how's that experience been for you?
As in, can I get into acting?
Yeah, like if you're reading someone else's words, but because you understand story structure so well, you can stitch it all together quicker.
I think identifying like motivation and sort of like driving forces for characters, being like the characters that I'm playing and that kind of thing. I think it's really easy to identify because it's reading a script from, I guess, my writer's perspective is kind of like you're looking for those details in the sort of subtext.
Yeah.
And if they don't jump out at you, it's not really an alarm bell, but it's kind of like if I'm trying to portray that person, then it is an alarm bell.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it does help being a writer to a certain degree, and then it does help understanding like if I've read something that sort of I'm not vibing with, I can find a way to make it vibe with me because I can understand that's just how they've written it, but I can find that subtext. I can find what they were trying to convey through it. Yeah, I think I can do that easier as a writer.
Well, I definitely have found that they both really help the other. You know, having come from it as an actor and then learning how to write somewhat, because you can. When it's already written for you and what have you, and you've got your scenes, and of course you've got your beats that you have to go through as an actor about your scene analysis and what have you, but nothing forces you to analyze the script or words or story structure more than actually writing it yourself. And you write something yourself and then put the actor hat on and then go to read it and play it, and you're like, oh, this doesn't make any fucking sense at all. Like, it sounded good when I was just typing it, and in my head it's this thing, but when I say it, it's a whole other thing. And then when I act it, I've got nowhere to go. I'm not doing anything. You know what I mean? So they all inform each other. So then if I'm reading someone else's script now and I'm preparing a role or whatever, I'm even more of a detective than I was before, you know, and then that's one of the hard things too when you're at a lower level of stuff, you know, like doing a part starts on Monday in a short film for Swinburne finals short. And there's like, you know, so I'm like underlying a bunch of different things, and there's lots of stuff that gets written as a throwaway. It just sounded good at the time or what have you. It's not this heavily like 20 years in as a professional writer where everything means something. Yeah. You know, you can highlight a lot of, oh, I don't actually know what that means. It just sounded good. You know, well, let's make it into something because it does sound good, but give me something that I can, you know, inject and then to use that. Yeah.
And do you find like now that you've had so much experience writing and being a writer that when you're acting and you're reading something that you think shit, but you have to act in it, you're looking for things to invest yourself into, like for your character? Do you find it's like you could potentially hate the whole thing, but you're like, I need to find something to love for me to act?
Yeah, I haven't, to be honest, I haven't actually... This is my first time acting in a film since I really took on the writing side of things. But what it has done is taught me about which scenes, which scripts that I'm auditioning for or whatever to invest any time in. So I can, you know, one of your, for those listening, you were my first port of call for Eyes On for my script, which is sort of your side hustle. Would I say side hustle or primary hustle?
Yeah, I'd say tertiary hustle. Yeah,
tertiary.
I don't
know. What's the actual title? Script analysis? Like
script assessor, I suppose.
Script assessor.
Script consultant, script doctor.
So you were the first person that I spoke to about that because you had given me great notes on the treatment back in the day, before Stringy Bark started, when I just had the first nugget of an idea. Just that beer is making me burp. Excuse me, folks. So yeah, one of the many notes was, you know, like action shouldn't be longer than sort of 4 or 5 lines at best, and each time you put a break in it, it's a new movement for the camera and the shots and what have you, and just even how to write, you know, your action headings and all that kind of, or scene headings and all that kind of stuff. So when something comes through, you quickly know, not worth it, not ready to be shooting. They have used the wrong software. They don't know. Do you know what I mean? And that has helped me a lot in being a lot more economical with my time of reading Star Now scripts. You know what I mean? So this Swinburne one that came to me is almost perfectly written. And I don't mean almost in a bad way, like you just shy off. It's really, really well written. Like all the detail, the world has been created beautifully. Like I could see it all, and not a single grammatical error, that sort of thing, you know. And I was like, okay, these guys are worth spending time with. So, and I probably wouldn't have spotted that had I not started to write, seen you, got that professional feedback, and from Julia as well about exposition and structure and beats and flow and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it kind of sounds pedantic when you explain it to people, like, because it's a script formatting thing, and I guess it's meant to be a creative process. You don't want to be too labouring the work side of things. But it's when you're reading something that's not formatted as you expect it to be in a script, it can be such a fucking drain. Like, just like, because I think you just mentioned the paragraphs being like 4 lines as sort of a maximum. When you get beyond that, it's just... it's a chore to read,
Yeah.
and it's like it's not a comment on the material itself being shit. It's hard to read.
Yeah, it slows you down. You're in a thread for too long, and the beat hasn't changed, and you aren't skipped along. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess I don't know if I framed it to you, but it's kind of like I remember early days someone framed it to me as like thinking about your paragraphs as like camera cuts.
Well, that's what I was trying to say. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
you did frame it to me like that, and that showed me a lot.
Oh, yeah,
and
it's
super
kind
helpful.
it just helps visualizing.
Yeah.
And if you just, I think by visualizing it like that, you kind of limit the amount of things you want to say. Because when you're writing for the first time, you tend to just sort of like write a shitload, and looking back on it, not all of it matters.
No,
but
so much of it doesn't matter, and because I spewed out like close to 150 pages, and that's trimmed back to about 123, I think, at the moment now.
Yeah, that's pretty good. In the same draft, or like, is this a new draft?
Oh, I've done maybe 10 drafts now.
Yeah,
or
right.
maybe more. Yeah, heaps of changes. Like the lead is now mixed race African woman, as opposed to Rianne. Yeah. Dialed back Christopher. I had to change Christopher's name to Thomas because there's an actual SAS fella called Christopher Ryan, who that's his pseudonym, and actually Tim Head tuned me into that. Both of the boys, as soon as they read it, were like, "That's a real guy," and he's really an SAS soldier who he writes as his pseudonym is Christopher Ryan about what's happened in his tours or whatever.
Fuck.
So
because it does sound like a very SAS name. Like it sounds.
Well, it's my best friend's name.
Oh, is it?
And that's where I got it from.
What does he do?
He's a furniture designer.
Oh, okay.
And his dad's Thomas Ryan. But now I feel like I think that the Saving Private Ryan, I think his name is Thomas, so I might have to change it. Isn't it Thomas Frederick Ryan?
I have no idea.
I just watched it the other day,
Ryan.
so it's a little fresh. So the first draft was just to go back and structurally tighten it up. And then the second one was to remove as much exposition as I could.
Yeah.
Which there was tons of it. And I could probably still remove more, but it's such a complex story. And a couple of people around me were like, just get some TVs with news reporters in the background and a couple of scenes, and they will really help you showcase exposition without your characters doing it for you. I was like, God, it's such a classic way of doing it. And then I went and watched The Joker, and the first opening scene is a ton of exposition coming out of the TV. And I went, okay, I'll go and put a TV in there.
Depends on how you use it. I think it was Steven Spielberg. I could be getting that wrong, but Steven Spielberg allegedly said that he'll never put the news in any of his movies because once you include the news, you include the scope of the world.
Right.
It suddenly opens up. Like if I can see the news or if the news is reporting on what's happening, the whole world is aware of what's happening. So it kind of like, it can really fuck with your perspective that's being created in the film.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing to say, given how broken down, each country's news is. And I'm not watching the news in France. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That's an interesting thing to say. I don't watch the news at all, but so that was another beat, and then went through and tightened up a lot of the military stuff and fleshed out more of her story with her dad, made that a little bit more layered and what have you, and some of the more abrasive moments. I had a big table read here, so I got a bunch of actors to come along. We read the script, which was really, really cool.
Yeah.
And so what's come out of the production meetings with Julia is she's like, write me a producer's one page, which was a huge undertaking for me, having never written one before and thinking that I was kind of getting to the end of it. And she's like, you've got a one-page treatment, that's great, but I need a one-page producer's, one page for a producer. And you've got to have comparisons, you've got to have, it's got to speak dollars, you still got to be emotionally invested without getting weighed down on too many plot points and all on one page. And that was tough. And so when I wrote that, and finally did it, and thanks to my wife, she helped me massively with that actually. She said, that's it. You've got it. The page is great. But now, and I think that the page presents a film that's going to get made. But now the script doesn't, entirely match
reflected.
up with your page. And so I think your ideas are right. You just haven't been able to convey them. And my idea is that the female lead becomes the hero. She doesn't start out as the hero. So that's why she's sort of second tier in her unit, and then ultimately progresses. And she said, "You're still heavily Thomas's story, even though I know you want it to be hers." So a way that you can fix that, and this is what's been one of the most fascinating things, and how I can take that and apply it from an acting perspective too, is she's like, how does Rianne feel about all of these things that are happening, even if she's not around? That's how you make her the hero, whether she becomes it or not, and her, it being her story, not his. Because right now, it's all about how Thomas feels. Make Thomas the vehicle for all of the information that the audience needs about the world that he's entered into. So why farmers turned to poaching, and why is Vietnam so heavily involved, and why has Johnny become a ranger, and let him be the vehicle, and why are rhinos so precious to the ecosystem, and all that kind of stuff. And then we become emotionally invested in her becoming who she becomes, and little things like that. And I was like, fuck, that's so good. Yeah. Helpful.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to frame the idea of the protagonist, is like not necessarily what they're doing, but how they are reacting to the world.
Yeah, or just how they feel about it. Because if we don't know how they feel, then they're completely removed.
Yeah,
and that's what I think something like Avengers Endgame, or all of those Avengers films, but particularly the Endgame, because you've got like 30 A-listers all converging into one film. And we all know how all of them feel about what is happening at any given moment. And that's incredibly hard to do.
Yeah.
You're not a fan?
No, I'm just trying to think about the scope of... Yeah, I have seen it. I remember watching, I think maybe a year ago, I watched all of the Avengers, like the whole Marvel sort of thing, in the chronological order.
Yes, and we did that last year, actually.
Yeah, and it's like, I remember sort of writing off certain movies along the way when they were coming out, but then watching them all in the order that's sort of meant to be intended for the
facilitated the push of the story.
Yeah, like, fuck, what a puzzle to put together. Like, good on them.
And I wonder how much of it was a part of the original plan. Like, I think it was, there must have been a pretty strong skeleton for what they were going to do, because they brought Tony Stark into the second Hulk at the very end, before the first Iron Man. And you're like, and I never saw it till after I saw the first Iron Man.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of, like, they were Easter eggs when the film came out, but then when you put it all together in that order, it's kind of like, oh, it's all leading to that one narrative for the the Infinity War sort of movies.
Yeah, I don't think there's been, I don't want to say franchise, but a collective narrative that's done it better. I find like even with your Star Wars films, you can still get a little bit. How does this tie into the ones from the set? They've had the benefit of being able to do it in a row, but I watched Terminator, the latest one, the other day.
Oh, is it good?
Is it Fate of Darkness or something? It has some incredible action scenes, but it is basically the first two Terminators rolled together, sprinkled diversity over the top.
Right.
So you've got...
And that's your donut.
Yeah, exactly, right? Exactly. It is exactly that. It is the two, but we've got, a female Terminator now, and a Mexican John Connor, and they just rewrote it and changed the future. But it's the same. I was like, oh. But you're kind of like, but how does this line up with all these time traveling points? And X-Men was the same. They lost all of their, how the fuck is Wolverine here, and then he's over there, and then
and wasn't the purpose of like Days of Future Past to like reset the timeline?
That's what I thought. Yeah, but I don't know how well they did it.
yeah, I thought that's interesting that, like, because Avengers did a similar thing, because the ending to Age of Ultron felt kind of empty. Because I remember seeing it, it's kind of like, well, they killed Ultron, but no one's going to talk
takes
about...
him out to the woods and...
Yeah. Yeah, look at the flowers. Like, but like Ultron's dead, but no one's talking about the city that just got fucking suplexed back onto Earth. And like, the whole plan was that was going to kill humanity anyway. I thought it was a little weak that they didn't talk about that, but then using, I think it was Civil War to talk about the repercussions of that single event as for like setting up that peace treaty and things.
And then it makes you feel better about the last one before.
Yeah, you can repair the first film by making another film, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And it feels like that's what X-Men was doing. I feel like Terminator was meant to do that with that one with the Aussie guy.
Oh, Salvation.
Genesis? No.
Joe,
that was Christian Bale
Courtney one.
Yeah. That one. Genesis.
Yes, the first one that Arnie stepped back into.
Yes.
Yeah, and so there's another issue there, and I'll leave the Terminator franchise alone after this. And it's a similar thing that happened in The Irishman. Is you can de-age all you want, or you can create a great backstory for why the T-1000 is fucking aging on the outside, but you can't explain the fact that he's hobbling along because he's 75. He's still a machine underneath. Body double that shit. You know what I mean? He's got to move like liquid or like a fucking machine, but not like an old man who's got a crook hip. You know, like, as buff as Arnie is and as how much he's hitting the roids, 75, good for him, he still moves like an old boy. And that scene in The Irishman where Robert De Niro is supposed to be like 35 and he's beating the shit out of someone in the street.
Yeah.
Why do you get a body double? It's a wide, you know?
And that was such a massive wide as well.
It was a massive wide, and you know the scene I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, I do. Because I remember seeing that and like immediately calling, like, because I like The Irishman, but
that's great.
That scene was just kind of like,
oh, my mate rang me up. It was the first thing he said. What the fuck is up? Like, love the film, but body double. You know, even Al Pacino does a better job when he skips up the stairs. There's a scene where he runs up the stairs, and I went, good for you, buddy. You know, because you don't look that good. You know, like, because he's got like 83 now or something. And he had a fall just before the Oscars recently, so he hobbled in there. He's in pain the whole time.
Well, it was interesting because I remember a few of my friends were like, the de-aging in Irishman looks fucking shit. And I had no idea they did it. Well, I thought it was I had no idea that they were de-aged. I thought it was fantastic.
How do you mean you had no idea? Like you thought that that's how they look now?
I just thought they were, done up. They were just...
Oh, wow.
It's a film. And like, I just thought it was really weird because I hadn't noticed at all. And then there was like one of those sort of like really quick YouTube previews of like, this is how Joe Pesci looks in the film and this is how he looks in real life. And like looks like a skeleton in real life.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, wow, they did a lot of work. I had no idea. But it was interesting that like my friends sort of called it out as looking shit. But then I had no idea, and I thought it was fantastic.
I thought they did a pretty fucking good job. Someone made their own de-aging where they had just like deep faked it with old footage or something like that, and it fucking looked really good. And they're like, "This cost me $100." You know, instead of the 17 million that the de-aging on that cost. I'm sure it's much more complex than that. I thought they did a fucking great job, and I think Alec Baldwin was on Howard Stern recently talking about, and he went to see like the premiere or what have you, and he said it was really emotional because it's probably the last time we'll ever see these guys together. I mean, it took them 20 years to get back in the same room together, and they're all in their late 70s, early 80s, and it was quiet. That's the end of an era almost, even though they're going to go off and do other things, and that's great, but those guys, that unit, one of the greatest filmmaking, actor, director combinations of all time. This is the last one. Would have been nice to see them pick up an Oscar for that. And they got totally snubbed. But listen, and I know you can't say too much about it, but you've been working on something. How long you've got a new project?
Yeah.
I'll let you do the talking.
Yeah, so we wrote a feature and it's sort of moving forward, so to speak, with producers and things, and it's a thriller set in the woods, and at the moment,
thriller / horror, but it's strictly thriller.
I think I wanted it to be a horror. The first draft I wanted to be a horror, but it sort of didn't really tick any of the genre boxes. But it horrified me. I think what and it was something I wanted to ask you before. because I was in a mindset when I was pitching it around to people and talking about it. I knew that I wanted to do another draft, and most of what I was pitching was for that next draft, as opposed to the draft that I would then send them to read. I was just wondering if you ever got caught in that trap, especially with the park, if like talking about it, but talking about the version that you want as opposed to the version that you're handing people.
Yes.
And because you were talking about having that one page for producers, and it's like, that's great, but it doesn't reflect what you've done. And it's kind of like you've let the aspiration sort of take hold and run away with you.
100%. I've got a friend, fucking hell. Red Hill Brewery. This is very burpy.
They know what they're doing.
So a friend of mine that I work with is very good friends with the writer of Ride Like a Girl.
All right. That's
and
cool.
I talk to her about the film all the time, and she knows I'm an actor and has seen some of the Stringy Bark stuff. And she said, look, I can't promise anything, obviously, but I can, I can pass this on to her if you want, like see what happens. And I've probably sent her 3 drafts and then called her 3 days later and said, don't send that one off, because I've just had this epiphany and we've just had this meeting and we've restructured it. And then I've probably done that 3 times, and the last one she sent off, and major changes have been made,
Yeah.
So I'm eternally hopeful that the idea is enough so that they go, okay, cool, I can see this isn't completely fleshed out, and because he's a mate of yours or whatever, or give him a pass on it not being ready. Tell him to reach out to me when he's got it locked, but I like the idea, but I haven't heard anything, and that is what it is, Christmas time as well. But so, yes, I have done it a bunch of times where I've gone, yes, whoa. And then someone said, whoa, oh, but what about this whole thing? Is that sort of what you mean?
Yeah, pretty much. And it's interesting sort of like being on, I guess, the receiving end of that as well, because like people will send me script assessments and then like 2 weeks later I'll be like, yeah, I'm about to start, really sort of nutting things out, and they're kind of like, oh, how about you read this version now? It's like,
I remember I did it to you too.
2
you're
weeks.
You're like, just if it's
I
not,
think you got away with it because I hadn't done anything yet.
Right.
So I was kind of like, I think I made a big fuss about it over email. I was kind of like, you got to stop doing that. Sit on your hands and shit. But
yes.
I hadn't done anything, so like there was no
you're
real
a total
reason for
dick
me
about it.
Yeah. Fuck me. And
I think it was just like I changed like one little thing that just tightened up a whole section or something like that, and I was like, I can totally understand that too. Imagine if you've done all this work and then someone goes, oh, sorry.
Yeah, and there have been occasions where I've done a bunch of work
Yeah.
and it's sort of undone because they're like, no, I have a different idea now, and it's
well, that's a different schedule, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, and it's interesting sort of being on the receiving end of that, and now kind of like knowing that I want to pitch this idea to it, like that doesn't have a script attached to it, and sort of handing off the original draft, and then you almost feel like saying, like when you get someone to say like, yeah, I'll read it, you kind of like, right, so this isn't exactly what I described, or it's like I did this ages ago, and it's going to look better in the next draft or some shit. But it's an interesting sort of thing. I think it's a trap that I sort of get myself into, is kind of like adjusting the pitch as I go and adjusting it so far that it doesn't reflect the original draft.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So it's a kind of this beast that keeps growing and changing and what have you, and that can be a symptom of being on it for a long time too. If you're sitting down and writing something for a year and a half or whatever, and you might have collected new data in that time, or you've grown as a person and your perspective on things changes. So then you have this new nugget of a beat that you really want to stick, but you have to ripple backwards and make everything line up with it. And
yeah. Oh, now I'm burping. What's in those? So I gotta fix that. I'm trying to think what my train of thought was.
No, so tell me, what's the film about?
It's a thriller about an incel in the woods, and that's pretty much
who?
An incel.
Which
Do
is
you know
what?
that term?
No.
That's it's short term for involuntary celibate, and so it's a particular breed of I shouldn't say breed, but it's a kind of person who, like, through circumstances that they deem aren't their own fault, involuntary, they're celibate.
Or they had their nuts cut off or something.
No, it's like a victim. It's like a victim of society kind of mentality that exists, and there's a big subculture of sort of incels.
Really?
Who? Yeah, man.
Here in Australia?
I'll send you a link.
Oh, wow.
They're global. They're everywhere. Your neighbors could be an incel, and yeah, it's just an interesting subculture of like some of them sort of hold up the two values that sort of like guide being an incel, which is that, you know, the only way to escape inceldom is the only way to escape is to, you know, have sex, get married, or die. Like those are the only three guiding principles they have to escape sort of this torture of not having sex.
Jesus.
But at the same time, that same group of people can define marriage as like a legalized form of prostitution. So it's this interesting sort of subculture that
It's a belief system?
yeah, I wouldn't go so far as like a religion.
No.
But it is a way that people sort of define themselves. And I just found it a really interesting sort of like that paradox of kind of needing women to sort of satisfy this thing that they feel is holding them back from being, I guess, a full, complete person.
Yeah, okay.
But also chastising women at the same time. It's just this weird middle ground that they sort of decide to live in. And yeah, I found it quite interesting, sort of dissecting that sort of world.
And that's at the forefront of, because I feel like you've been working on a couple of things.
Yeah, that's one of the things I've been working on.
Yeah.
And that's sort of dominating most of my time.
Yeah.
And yeah, I should probably start talking about incels. I'm probably talking a bit out of school. As sad an attempt as that was to sound cool.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
so not an incel. But, yeah, so that's one of my projects.
Yes, you can only say so much about it. People will just have to wait around and see where it goes from here. But it's in a good place.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is great because for one day we'll look back on this podcast and say, oh, that was right before this great thing happened. And that's kind of the premise for this podcast, or my hope is that all these different artists will come through and they'll be fleshing out these ideas, or they'll be on the brink of something great happening and talking about this thing. And then there'll be this catalog of whomever has gone on and made it and go, that was that time back then where I was just on right seconds before this great thing happened, and there's proof of this conversation that happened, or an idea that was floated, or even like one of my guests once was on the brink of getting enough cash to make her feature film. And after the podcast, she contacted me to come in for an audition, and I made it through to the final round, and you know, it wasn't the right guy. But I thought, what a great look back if that conversation happened and recorded and is out there, and then went on and did this film and it picked up an award or something like that. Like, 'cause a lot of that stuff just happens behind closed doors and no one sees it, you know?
Yeah.
So what I'm really trying to say is, yes, I will be in your film. No problems.
Well, yes. There's only 3 roles, so I
feel like it was a limited cast on this one.
Yeah, and I was going to take 1.
Oh, yeah?
So I think you got a chance.
Hey,
50-50.
that's really cool, though.
Yeah. I say that, but I mean, really, it's out of my hands.
It's out of your hands.
Yeah.
Do you want to do that, though? Like, do you really want to do that? Like, I don't mean are you sure you want to do that? I'm excited that you want to do that.
I think I do, but at the same time, like, I don't know, since I've started sort of really focusing on writing films and trying to get that thing going, all of my dreams are sort of being a writer, director, acting in it. If the one thing holding back one of my films from getting made is me in it or me directing it or
Done.
whatever, like, I'm willing to cut a lot of fat being myself
100%.
just to see it get done.
Get done. Yeah. What are you not prepared to do in order to get it done? Or anything done? Let's just say anything.
I mean, at the very last thing that I sort of want to lose is having my name on it.
Yeah, just take it all.
You know.
That's happened to a friend of mine. He's gone from writing this whole thing, finding a producer, them putting him through to another production company, which is Chinese, them going, if you want the 10 mil to make this, then it's going to be this. And then, oh, no, we don't like that, then it's this. And then now you're not acting in it, and it's this. And now you're just an assistant writer, but here's your 60 grand, and actually you're not even on the credits anymore.
Yeah.
No, thanks. No.
Yeah, I think that'd suck.
That's a very loose description of what I think happened. And I haven't spoken to him for a while, but that was the general gist that I got. He was like, be very careful and to the point of having a lawyer or something before you get to that final stage so that you're protected.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's terrifying. And I think it's weird because you do see like some of those big Hollywood films that have sort of been rewritten for years and years and years, and then they finally do come out and they have like 8 or 9 writers sort of being credited.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if like how many of those, like if it's 8 or 9 being credited, if there's like 20 that sort of got lost along the way and weren't lost their credit. But yeah, no, that would be terrifying. I think what's good for your mate though is that he still got paid. Like,
so Seb, I haven't spoken to him. I think the payment was coming. I'm not sure where he's at with that, but I know it's been a shit show. Yeah, a total shit show. And because as I persevere with the park and what have you, of course, because I'm an actor, I want to play the lead. And the people around you who are championing you on and what have you are like, but buddy, like, I mean, it's gonna be hard enough for you to get this made, let alone convincing them that you should play the lead. I mean, you might have to drop that one. And in the beginning, I was like, fuck them. I'm fucking Stallone. I can fucking be in my own film and hold out and rah, rah, rah. And for me, that line would be that I wasn't acting in it. Because I don't want to be a writer. I don't want to be someone at a desk writing. It's cool if I'm writing in order for me to act in something, great. But to not act in something I've written, no can do. Like I've got to be in it. So that would be my negotiation. I'd rather, forego getting paid and still get to act in it. Do you know?
And that's a hero story, that one.
Yes. Yeah.
I forfeited the paycheck just to make magic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I think it comes back to sort of like having to find something to invest in when you're writing, or when you're reading something that you're going to act in. It's kind of like you've spent so much time investing sort of not only the time to write this thing and all of the emotions that come with that, but you saw yourself from the very start as the character, and that's kind of how you got it done in a way. That's
how you get it done, and that's probably the thing that will help you continue to get it done is if when they read that page and you go, I'm that guy, they go, oh yeah, I can totally see that. If you write something that's so far removed from you because you want to live this alter ego, game over. I'm sorry, buddy, but you're 90 pounds and 5'5". You're not 6'4" and 200.
If the studio pays for the weightlifting, it pays for the trainer, the chef.
Maybe not for a first time comer who's just getting over the line. And I often wonder in my mind, like, you play out scenarios and what have you and conversations. Oh, well, maybe I would do this or I'd do this to get it done. But I wonder, because like if I was going to play, if they said, okay, cool, you could, pitch us on why you should play the lead. My negotiation would be like, I would be happy. And I don't even know if this is a thing, if this is what has been done in the past or whatever. Like if you pay for my acting coach and my travel and food, done. Do you know what I mean? Like I would feel a hell of a lot confident if I had a coach with me the whole way. I don't know that I'll ever do anything of any real caliber without one. But that's how I feel I could get over the line, is make it inexpensive for them. And I've always planned, if this film gets made, that the female lead is the one who's getting the money and the one that carries the film and has got the name. Do you know what I mean? And you're probably more likely to find, well, I if I was a producer, I'd be looking for someone who was heavily involved in the cause already.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
in anti-poaching or animal rights and what have you, and they'll do it for next to nothing just because they believe in it or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's in the hands of a good producer. Hopefully, Julia, if you you can make this happen. Well, that's great. So you've got that percolating away.
Yeah, so I think that is percolating. That's the word. And I mean, my plan for the year was hopefully to shoot a short film in November as a proof of concept for another idea.
Oh, cool.
Um,
Can you talk about that one?
yeah, because
Tell me.
it's barely exists.
Yeah.
It's I mean the core concept is that it's a time travel movie.
Awesome.
And the time machine is a gun,
Okay.
and the only way to travel through time is to put the gun to your head and shoot yourself.
So like okay, yeah,
Yeah.
deer hunter versus meets
Yeah. Yeah,
time
exactly.
travel.
And it is like a revolver, so I think like the amount of time jumps you can do sort of
Depending on the amount of bullets.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's ammunition based. And so that's kind of like the core concept that I want to build up into a feature. But my plan was to shoot a short film earlier this year, and that sort of fell through. So I would like to shoot just something, like to write and direct a short of any kind, really.
Have you directed before?
No.
So that's
No.
awesome.
Yeah, so just to give that a crack, because I think I've sort of been pooling all of the advice from like the directors I know, and you get such a weird range of information on how to direct that it's interesting. And it comes back to sort of like when I was acting in things, and I get notes from directors that I did like, and then I get notes that I didn't like, and it's kind of like, well, I want to be more like you and less like you.
I think you probably want to be an actor's director.
Mm.
Yeah, because you're quite vocal.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I don't think that you're going to be the guy who sits back and tells someone else to go over there and tell them this and that. And you'll be thinking about it from a dialogue story point, not from a compositional point or the light and this and this and this and this is how we'll convey the story. I imagine, I could be wrong, but you would be in there with the actor. Okay, so now this is the moment where we're at the top of the arc here. And this is what is really compounding this feeling for them. And if this doesn't hit fucking critical mass here, then we have no reason why she does this thing here, like da 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 da. That kind of like called side coaching or what have you, where you actually have a conversation with that actor and flesh it out with them. That's my favorite kind of director, anyways. And that's how I feel.
So that's where you'd prefer, like as an actor.
100%, 100%. The best acting coaches that I've had, because I've never had a director like the acting coaches that have had the most amount of impact on me, because they've all been low tier. They're newcomers. Which is fine. That's part of the deal. But like my acting coach, Miles Pollard, is a fucking magician at just like not calling cut, just creeping in, whispering in your ear all the shit that you need to hear just to get you to that next place. And that is the best. For me, I fucking love that. I'm really someone who thrives on good direction. I don't need to take it away. Do you know what I mean? Like I will if it's not happening, but I would rather someone be so all over it that they know exactly how to take me where I need to go.
Yeah. So, because the universal thing that I've heard is that you don't tell the actor the emotion that they're meant to feel. Like you don't come up and say you're scared, you're terrified.
No, that's true.
Like that's what you're avoiding. So not an example,
Let
but
them
like what
answer it. So
Right.
like if you're not feeling like they're really scared, you create like a scenario, sort of like, okay, so sometimes you just need to ask them the script analysis questions that they haven't done themselves. So what's actually happening here? Well, my daughter just had her throat slit by this stranger. Right. How does that make you feel if that was your daughter? What do you think how would you respond to that? Oh, I'd be terrified. Brilliant. Show me that. And then it's like they've just given you I just thought of it. So the actor will go, oh yeah, terrified, I've got that. But
So
if
it's
you go,
almost
give me happy, fuck off, like, so, and then like, because you need, so, and once again, for me, if I work it out myself, even if I'm guided, I'm so much more likely for it to be embedded. Like if I'm learning something new or I've got a take on a scene, I will say, can I just give you my take? And it could be totally wrong. But if it's right, then
you can have it.
I've got it. It's really, really in me. Instead of me just going, you tell me, and me sitting there listening to you tell me this whole thing that was or wasn't what I was already thinking. So when you allow someone to work it out themselves, then they really get it, And it also depends on their training, whether they've been trained in like traditional techniques of sensory exercises or, deep, like that whole sort of Stanislavski kind of deep childhood trauma type shit, or if you're someone like me who's more trained in the biological, physiological style of acting, so if I was being coached or directed by someone from PEM, which is the school I did my most recent training, they might say to me, like, what's happening in this scene? Well, she just cheated on me, so I'm really pissed off, so I'm really angry. Cool. Okay, so you're really angry. What is the organ that activates anger? And I'll be like, oh yeah, okay, it's the liver. And then I'll do my technique for activating that physiological response. I don't have to dig up any kind of trauma or whatever to get angry.
Because that was going to be my question is, I understand, like as a shit actor, I understand sort of the motivation and the emotion that I'm meant to be getting to in certain scenes, but then it's bridging the gap between my actual emotions at the time, which, normal, medium, like
fine,
yeah, and then getting to that point where I'm, my daughter's throat's been slit in front of me. Like it's sort of bridging that gap is what's lost. So you reckon it's a body, that's the way you do it?
That's the way that I do it. Because like in order for you to feel any kind of emotion, there's a chemical reaction that happens in your brain and your body, right? Your brain, your pineal gland or your prefrontal cortex or whatever sends out a signal to the rest of your body that stimulates hormones, cortisol or dopamine or whatever, and that elicits a physical reaction. So for anger, your physical reaction is to move forward. And then your brow comes down and your teeth come out as an exaggerated version of that. But that's the physical response to anger. And it's your brain sends the hormones down through your liver and then up through your blood vessels, and that's what activates. The Chinese call it qi. They've been dialing into this for thousands and thousands of years. But that's not for everyone. Some people need to have that connection to all of them real scenarios that have happened in their lives and channel that anger towards their dad at the actor or whatever. I'm a firm believer of whatever gets the fucking job done, just so long as you don't want to slit your wrists at the end of it.
Yeah, that's the...
So if you're directing, it's good to, I think, I mean, if I was going to direct something or I wanted to be as big a director or as big a percentage of my time as a director as I was an actor, I would want to know everyone's technique. And I'd want to have every understanding of multiple techniques so I knew how to best talk to that actor.
Yeah. So is there a name for the technique that you use?
It's called the Pertecamp Emotional Method.
Right.
And that one school in the Southern Hemisphere, it's in Melbourne. And so I did 3 emotions. I haven't yet to finish the rest of the course. And I did anger, joy, and despair. And there's different, what they call masks, how your face reacts. But when I was at TAFTA, John taught us an emotions class for 2 weeks, and he taught us how to cry without any kind of dialogue. Just make your body do what it does when it cries. And it will you can just keep those tears running for fucking minutes and minutes and minutes and minutes and minutes. And it's like a meditative thing and a breathing thing. because that's what you forget. You know, if you can't do it for real, like if I can't be genuinely upset at something, you have to mimic what your body is doing at that time. So, well, what does my body do when I'm crying? Well, typically your breathing will change, your posture will change, your face will change. So if you do all of those three things and you can connect to whatever that internal part of your body that makes tears happen, there they are. You know, if you smile and put your hands out like this and look up at the sky, it elicits a hormonal change that produces dopamine, and you can redirect cortisol by doing that. It's just a physiological thing. You don't have to think about anything. You know, oh, rainbows, whatever the fuck, you know. Just do those three things and it will change internally. So it's a different school of thought, and it's a bottomless well. Do you know what I mean? So you're getting into take 50 and you're still having to produce tears. If you can just, as long as you stay hydrated, for example, you can constantly produce tears. Like when you think of an event in your life that was traumatic, there's only so many times you can do it.
And because I wonder how many times you can reframe that for different roles. Like traumatic memory.
Depends how traumatic it was and how undealt with it is. Right? If you haven't seen a shrink over that and it's unresolved, maybe it's bottomless. You know?
Yeah.
But it fucks you up, you know?
Well, yeah, it would.
The first time I was ever forced to cry through a memory didn't feel great.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I was like, yeah, oh God. And I'm thinking about that person for the next 2 weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas this other way, and then you do a shake-off method, it's all just about funneling energy and redirecting it.
Is this before or after you do the scene with
both?
Okay, right.
They do this kind of in that it's, I can't do it now, but you're standing up and you sort of go up onto your tippy toes and then just let your weight hit the floor and and it's just like expelling anything is there, so you're a blank canvas. Just cleaning the paint off the palette and restarting. And you do that after a heavy scene, and I shit you not, it is all gone. It's not like you forgot that you were crying, but there is nothing that you carry over with you.
Yeah.
And you feel great. Yeah.
So this one seems to make the most sense as like is it Meisner? Because you mentioned Stanislavski. Meisner's the other sort of main one as an acting technique.
Meisner's the big one.
And what sort of separates that from the other acting schools?
I don't have an extensive training in Meisner, but it was the first technique that I learned, and that's through Miles Pollard. And I don't know what the title of or how the descriptive words that a trained Meisner technician would use, but my training in Meisner is what they call like a I forget the name of it, but you'll stand in front of the other actor and it's all about putting everything onto them and being observant.
I think I know. Is it when you repeat the same thing?
The repetition technique. That's its repetition technique. Yeah. And so it allows you, I don't want to say demystifies, but it breaks down the before and after cut or before and after action. So that I can have this conversation with you now, like that we are talking. And then when action goes in there and you say, yeah, I don't really like you anymore. And it's that same change as opposed to talking like this, I don't like you anymore. Action, you know what I mean? It helps you make that transition to make it more natural and more real, and it also it teaches you to really, really watch and be observant and react. It's all about reacting. I mean, acting is reacting, but it's heavily centered in watching.
Yeah, right.
Because that can be, you know, when you're nervous and you fucking just don't forget my lines. Don't forget my lines. You're not watching anymore. You're just. Yep, she's finished. He's finished. My line, your line, my line. You know, instead of, and because when you're really, really watching and really, really connected, if something fucks up or it goes a different way or whatever, you just respond just
Yeah.
innately, you know. When I started doing PEM, I did it straight after Stringy Bark, and something happened on Stringy Bark which had never happened to me before, and I really hold on to this one because it was like one of those kind of breakthroughs or epiphanies. And we came to the last scene where I kill Kennedy, and
That's not a spoiler because it's history.
it's history, exactly. The Titanic sinks, and I kneel down, when we come over, and he's like, "You were trying to murder us," and he goes, "What happened to Lonergan or whatever?" And he calls me a cowardly cunt. Like, my planning for months and months and months was just to be like, yeah, well, like really casual about it. Like, I've got him at my feet now, I'm ready to go. But when he said it on that day, and I'd never heard him say it before, he said it with such venom that my instinct was to charge at him and scream at him, and I'd never done that before. And so in the first rehearsal of that blocking scene, everyone was like, whoa. I was like, whoa, do that.
Yeah.
And that was that anger driving me forward. The physical reaction to anger was to move forward. And I was like, oh. And then when I was in the class and they were talking about it, I was like, oh, wow, this has just happened to me. And I've never had that happen before. Everything's always been so structured and so planned, and every beat was, filled with nerves and a lack of that total freedom, and that was hands down my one of my most favorite acting moments. Like, when you feel like you were there, present as present as possible for that little sweet moment.
Yeah.
That was that.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
It was really good.
That's a good that's a good magic moment.
Yeah, it was great, and I'm glad that it made the film, and I'm glad that they loved it, and they loved it.
Yeah,
But that it worked, and
I mean, it's in the film.
it
They
was in
liked it a little.
Well, they didn't get any other options either.
You didn't give them to them.
Well, but that was but it was like, wow, it was a genuine reaction. But I also wondered how Tim and I were going to get along, and I've told him this, so it's not like he's going to listen and be pissed off.
Yeah.
Because when I first stepped in there and started wanting to change things, and I feel like he would do this, and I feel like he would do that, and I think he was being very protective of Ben, because Ben is really like, will work with you and listen to you and go, okay, cool, yeah, maybe, and try and help you out. But Tim was like, oh, I don't know about maybe. And I thought that Tim and I were going to have a real issue, which couldn't be further from the truth. But I thought, okay, cool. Well, I'll run with that, because I'm supposed to hate this guy anyways. But like in the original script where it says, Ned Kelly slaps Kennedy with a backhander. Like, there's no fucking way he's going to backhand him like a royal duke and a fucking glove. He's a boxer. He's going to king hit that fucking prick. And Tim was like, oh, nah. So we'll just let me do it and see what you think. And then we didn't even try the other way. But
that seems like it seems like another one of those things that Ben was really hung up on about as well, which is like the dedication to the historical accuracy of it. And it's one of those, it's kind of like, that's such a good dedication to have because it's honest. But there's a whole lot of middle that probably doesn't need to be super accurate, like 100%.
Yeah.
I don't think you're being unfaithful to the material or to the stories of the people that, were affected by what happened.
Well, you're right. But fortunately, like, that scene was when no one else was there anymore. So the rest, all that scene was Ben's imagination.
Yeah.
Because no one saw that.
That's true as well.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, cool. I've got a bit of a pass here to try a couple of different things. And I mean, and testament to those boys, I've said this many times, that's filming that final scene on that day was quite an emotional scene. Like, what a beautiful little set to be on when everyone's crying at the like the soliloquy that he sort of did at the end there, just for the cast, just to set the tone.
Yeah.
So interesting enough, Pem trained crews how to activate the same organs on certain motions of scenes when they're filming, so that everyone in the room is channeling the same energy.
Oh, right.
And you don't have a situation where, people are cracking jokes in the background when it's a heavy scene, and you're like, mate, shut the fuck up. I know you're not an actor or whatever, but I'm trying to cry here, and you're fucking farting and doing poop jokes. You know what I mean? Or whatever. Like, everyone's trained in that same technique, whether you're an actor or not. You can get a whole.
Just sounds like courtesy, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, yeah, but especially on the low end, when no one's getting paid and whatever, and I mean that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
I reckon we could probably wrap it up there, mate.
Yeah, easy.
What do you reckon?
Yeah, thank you very much for the.
Mate, I really appreciate you coming down.
Anytime.
Anytime.
You're just down the road as well.
Am I? Good. Where are you?
Yeah, I'm not in Frankston anymore.
Oh, okay. I thought you were in Franga.
Yeah, no, I moved to Paran.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, fuck it is. So
that is sweet.
Yeah.
Nice one, dude.
Yeah, no worries. Can I look at the camera once?
Yes.
I haven't looked. All right, got it. Yeah, it's there.
Thanks, buddy.